All right, Akim, Shalom, Shalom. All praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Rakakwadash, that honors the apostles and the elders with no stone of teaching this truth. Salutations to the sincere Akim and Aquath may listen. May the blessing of election be upon your house. My name is Brother Raquai. I'm back in here with another quick and Lord's will is always an edifying lesson. And for today's lesson, I kind of wanted to just discuss this clip that I came across here. It's essentially it's a clip I saw on Instagram, and it's a woman. She she has a bit of Irish slash Scottish ancestry, and she was essentially she's living in Jamaica, right? And a lot of people don't know that a lot of them were essentially were exiled to different Caribbean islands, more specifically like island like Jamaica, right? A lot of our people, in the world today, believe that, they strictly only came from, so-called Africa. They were just brought into essentially slave ships, from the western coast of Africa. But little do they know that a lot of them actually also came from Europe, right? A lot of us were there, ruling at the time. So before I ramble on too much, I'm going to read this. As a matter of fact, let me play the clip, and Lord's will is always how raticide this may be edifying.
But you're white. You what?
I lived in Jamaica for 7 years.
But you're white, right?
No, because here I was a displaced person and I was black. I have black nipples and a black maroon punani. And my sister is pink like my mother, and their skin's translucent, and I'm dark like my brother.
So what are you trying to tell me right now?
That skin deep is just a color. Your color is like by choice. I prefer not to say I'm white at all because I was a displaced person as a child. I wasn't Irish, white, Anglo-Saxon. I was foreigner.
What?
I lived in Jamaica for 7 years.
Right, so here you have this woman, she looks like, a so-called, Edomite woman, and she's explaining, she lived in Jamaica for X amount of years, right, and she's describing, her family, she's dark, she doesn't subscribe to this idea that, she is, quote unquote white. The scriptures talk about how essentially birds would flock together of their kind. As a matter of fact, let me see if I can get that. Bear with me on this. I'll play it again, actually.
But you're white, right?
No, because here I was a displaced person and I was black. I have black nipples and a black maroon punani. And my sister is pink like my mother, and their skin's translucent, and I'm dark like my brother.
So what are you trying to tell me right now?
That skin deep is just a color. Your color is like by choice. I prefer not to say I'm white at all because I was a displaced person as a child. I wasn't Irish, white, Anglo-Saxon. I was foreigner.
All right, so this is Sirach chapter 27, verse 9, and it says, the birds will resort unto their like, so will truth return unto them that practice in her. Right, so people would go and congregate, with their own kind. But what's confounding is the fact that the guy is so tripped up on her skin color, right? He is not taking in the scripture. He's not taking in this particular situation spiritually, right? And I want to get a precept on that. I want to get First Corinthians, the second chapter, in a second. Right, but it just shows you our people, regardless of how they look per se, because what did the Lord tell Samuel? He said, no, damn, let me get that too, actually. It wasn't to focus on the countenance. Oh, I spelled that wrong. Countenance. Bear with me. hang in there, brothers. Okay. 1 Samuel 16:7, it says, "And the Lord said unto Samuel, Look not at his countenance, or the height of his stature, because I have refused him, for the Lord seeth not as man seeth," right? So the Lord doesn't see the way we with our carnal eyes see it. That's why that's why the scriptures always say, judging, comparing spiritual things with spiritual, right? So, because I have refused him, for the Lord Yahweh seeth not as man seeth, for the man looketh on the outward appearance, but the Lord Yahweh looketh upon the heart, right? So this is, pertaining to, King David, because he was going to be set up as the next king, and he didn't have that. Essentially, he didn't have the physical characteristics, like when you compare him and you compare King Saul. I think King Saul, he was very tall at the shoulders, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, right? But he had the stature, right? So that, it shows today, because we've been scattered into like multiple different, areas all over the world, we can't go strictly based off how somebody looks, right? So so before I get to First Corinthians, I actually wanted to read a little bit of history on the Black Irish and Scottish. So on the screen I have here, it was a book that it's called Whence the Black Irish of Jamaica, right? So the author I have here actually references the book. So I'm just going to read. I want to read from my own book. This is Negro Question, Part 4, The Missing Link, right? So it says, okay, I'm just going to jump to it. I'm just going to jump around. So this book here is by a guy named Joseph J. Williams, and he's a Jesuit priest. And it says this book was written by a Jesuit priest John J. Williams, my mistake, and was published in 1932 by NY Press. In his book, John describes the Black Irish were deported into slavery in Jamaica as black people. Remember, we're not black, right? We're Israelites, right? So it says, and these pictures you can see on this page are images of some of these Irish children. Once I located this book with its images, I want to show you the entire front of the cover, so that you can have it for your reference. These are some of the Black Irish that came here on slave ships directly from Europe. Ladies and gentlemen, the Scots / Irish / Welsh / Brits are the same people, right? So how did they end up there? So I'm just going to jump back to this guy named Oliver Cromwell. He's an Edomite. So essentially, he took over after the death of King Charles, right? So King Charles, brothers who don't know, King Charles, he was a son of King James, and he was known as the Black Boy. He had long, curly, dark, swarthy skin and curly hair, right? So let me just jump around here a little bit, just 1 second. So this was an edict that, so this is during his rule. So it says, Oliver Cromwell was Lord and Protector of the Commonwealth of England, Ireland, Scotland, after the assassination of the Scottish-English King Charles I. Upon taking military command of the Commonwealth, he invaded Ireland, and history states that he committed genocide in Ireland against the black population, right? So remember, we were living in those countries at the time, right? But essentially, we were going down, we were losing power, right? Because Esau was coming up, right? It says he committed genocide against the Irish and Ireland against the black population. The Black Irish that he didn't kill, he sold into slavery. He sold into the slave trade, In 1641, Cromwell had 300,000 black Irish sold into the North Atlantic slave trade, and in 1650 he had 100,000 Irish slash Scottish children sold into Barbados, right? So Barbados is another Caribbean island. It says this is an interesting law that Cromwell had published, and it read. So this is a decree that he put out in 1653, right? So this is still during his rulership. So it says those who fail to transplant themselves to Connaught or Clare within 6 months shall be guilty of treason. You will be then sent to America or some other part of beyond the sea. The Royal African Company sent 249 ships to the West Indies, sending 60,000 African and Irish to the Americas, right? Because, we had to fulfill that prophecy of going into slavery, on ships, right? It says, make no mistake about these people are here in this colony with us, right? So we were brought, a lot of us were exiled, who were, living that, that highborn, regal, noble lifestyle. And a lot of us got shipped. Some of us came from, some of us were dwelling on the western coast of Africa. And then you had the northern tribes already here dwelling for a long period of time. And then, you had also a lot of Israelites specifically coming from, those countries, like those European countries, right? To essentially be brought up on ships. And then eventually that lends to precepts such as Jeremiah 50, that we will be, the northern and the southern kingdom will come together to a place where they will both being oppressed in this new Babylon, right? The children of Israel and the children of Judah shall be oppressed together, right? So, to roughly paraphrase. And it says, America is a huge colony spread out over 50 states, and we have been mingled together. I have a greater witness than this, right? So there was a little bit I wanted to okay, let me read First Corinthians before I continue on moving. It's okay, so this is First Corinthians 2:10, and it says, but the Most High hath revealed unto them by his Spirit, searching all things, yea, the deep things of the Most High. For what man knoweth the things of a man, say the spirit of a man which is in him? Even so the things of the Most High Yahweh knoweth no man but the Spirit of the Most High. For we have received, not the spirit of the world, but the Spirit of the Most High, which we might know the things that are freely given unto us of the Most High. So, the guy didn't understand because, he has to understand, he doesn't understand the history and the diaspora and, what happened. And on top of that, a lot of these people, they may not even know it. They have an understanding that, because Esau's a natural man and he's not spiritual, people also, the people who rule over him in this kingdom, in this society, also take on that same vibration, right? So, for example, like if I remember, being in school, there is this constant, how do you call it? Like this idea, like, everybody is kind of like so-called like black, white, Asian, Hispanic, or other, or they take on these very I hate to say binary, these very these these cookie cutout identities, right? And little do they know that one, your identity is not tied to a physical landmass. And then two, your identity is not a skin color, right? So that's why, through the spirit of Yahweh, Bashem, Yahweh Shai, we tear down these different strongholds. Because one, a lot of us are a different shade of brown and not black. And number two, people don't understand that, you can have an Israelite, for example, that doesn't look like a typical Israelite, but just has the pigmentation of another nation, because we got scattered into multiple other different nations. People don't understand these things. They don't understand the history, diaspora, Esau changing, removing landmarks, what happens in war. Generals would take, women for as spoils. So you have a lot of mixing and mingling everywhere, right? So that's why the scriptures is, as I'm reading here, we don't have the spirit of man's wisdom. Oh, that's verse 13, and it says, but we speak which things we speak, not in the words which man's wisdom teacheth, but by the Holy Spirit teacheth, comparing spiritual things with spiritual. So most likely this woman here is an Israelite, and even in my experience, I've met, a woman myself, she looks like a straight up, like, if you Google the actress named Cameron Diaz, blonde, that Britney Spears type of look, and then, I met her, and then, she was telling me, she would always tell me, I always think I have black in me, I have so much soul in me, I don't feel like I'm white, I just look white. And she would tell me that. But she told that to somebody, who doesn't have the understanding. You're gonna think, this bitch is crazy, yo. What the fuck? You know what I'm saying? Because, people have the spirit of a natural man. As a matter of fact, let me just read it. Verse 14, and it says, but the natural man receiveth not the things of the Spirit of the Most High, for they are foolishness unto him. So him hearing this, the guy speaking in the video he's foolish, because he's hearing what she's saying and he's not able to compute. He's getting like an error message, like because he can't understand exactly. He doesn't understand history, right? And the apostles always bring this out, understanding the history to understand the mystery, right? And it says, neither can they know them, because they are spiritually discerned. But he that is spiritual judgeth all things, yet himself is judged of no man, right? So, that's why it's important to have that spiritual mindset, in different situations like this, right? Because it helps to discern, different matters, right? Using the scriptures as a filter. So, I just want to read this last bit here. And it says, so history records after the execution of Charles I of Scotland and England that Oliver Cromwell invaded Scotland and killed 4,000 and took 10,000 captive. For some explicable reason, it took Cromwell 1 year to end the war in Scotland. What do I know? I'm certain of this is that he deported the Scots to American colonies. These black Europeans were sent to Barbados, Boston, Charleston, Cambridge, Concord, Hingham, Ipswich, Virginia, Newark, and Southern Plantations. So a lot of them got pushed into different areas in those, I guess you can call it like northern, southern, eastern, like different states, right? So a lot of you Israelites that probably come across this video, you might have a lot of y'all probably came from you were just dwelling in Scotland or Ireland or Wales at the time, and you were just dwelling there until some of your ancestors got brought to this side of the world, right? So it says, it has been reported that in the African American community, a lot of blacks have Scottish and Irish last names. And it gave some examples. So it says Andrews, Culmore, Eddington, Mayer, Maynell, Moore, let's see, Gilbert, Anderson, Aberdeen, Williams. Those are very, very common so-called Irish Jamaican names. Brown, Wright, those different types of last names, right? So that's pretty much it. I didn't want to make the lesson too long. I just thought I would bring some edification on that. Oh, let me hold on. This is Revelation 20, and it says, and I saw an angel come down from heaven, having the key of the bottomless pit and a great chain in his hand. And he laid hold on the dragon, the old serpent, which is the devil and Satan, and bound him 1,000 years. Right. So there was a period in time where um, Esau had lost his rulership, and Jake came up and they ruled during a time known as that Byzantine or Dark Ages or medieval times, and they were bound for a certain amount of time, right? And then that's the period in time where slowly, as you see these different for example, this guy named Cromwell, that was Esau coming back, essentially to coming back into power, right? But there was a period in time where Israelites had ruled, so-called black people had ruled during that different time period, right? Known as the Dark Ages or Byzantine Empire or Medieval Empire, right? And also that also included, people like the Moors also, right? So anyways, I'll leave it there, but hopefully this lesson was edifying. Just like give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh Bashim El Shai. Until next time, I say Shalom.